Hi, Jesse. Hi.
Hello.
Nice to meet you.
Very nice to meet you.
Nice. You just played Hurricane Festival here
Yes.
in Scheeßel. How was it?
It was insane. We were a little nervous before, but this is how festivals always work. About 5 minutes before you play, there's about 15 people, and then you go, oh shit. And then 30 seconds before you play, there's 4,000. So it ended up being really, really good. And throughout our set, more people came, and more people came, and more people came. And like we were talking about, especially for a festival like this, that's generally more hip hop or indie rock.
Yeah.
And we're pretty much, I think we're one of the only hardcore bands today. Maybe there's one or two other ones.
Yeah, the red stage where you played on, that's usually the one where louder bands or hardcore bands are playing on, and that was.
But I know there's like a Danish pop star, Mo, that's playing there as well, and in Portugal, the man's playing that there as well. So I think we were pretty much one of the only harder bands for the day. So we didn't know how it was going to be received, but I mean, I don't know if you were there and saw it, but it was. I was there. It was crazy.
Fucking red.
Yeah, it was crazy.
You were like a football coach acting all, now move, let's do this and that. It was amazing. Really. You should check this out. Ihr solltet euch das mal anschauen. Stick to your guns live. It was a fucking experience. Thank you for that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, have you got a chance to see any other bands at a festival like this?
Not yet. I pretty much woke up right before we played.
Amazing.
I had a hard time sleeping last night. We played Grass Pop Festival.
Yeah.
And Parkway Drive and Iron Maiden and Avenged Sevenfold. As I was trying to go to sleep, they were playing, and they have pyro and fireworks, and so it was so fucking loud.
Everything.
And so I had a hard time sleeping.
I'm so sorry.
No, it's all right. But yeah, we're going to check out a few bands later today.
Yeah. I mean, Iron Maiden isn't known for doing like lullaby songs, so
exactly.
I get that. You've got an incredible fan base here in Germany as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, it's bonkers. It's like the Wikipedia page in German is way more descriptive than the English one. I was like, all right, okay. So you're playing here for quite a while now, like.
Yeah, I mean, we've been coming to Europe since 2008.
Yeah.
So 10 years now we've been coming to Europe, and it's been incredible. I mean, it took a few years for people to take it seriously, but Germany really, I don't know why Germany more than anywhere else, but they just seem to really latch onto us, and it's been awesome.
Maybe we just have an awesome taste in music.
Of course you do, absolutely. Everybody knows that. Yeah.
Have you got a favorite venue to play in Germany or anything?
Oh man, favorite venue? I mean, I like playing Berlin because the shows are awesome, and then just being in that city is awesome. Hamburg's also great. I think the best city for us to play is Leipzig. Oh. It's just like crazy. Our biggest headlining show we've ever done was in Leipzig.
Oh, all right.
2,000 people, and it was just crazy.
Wow.
Yeah.
I've never been to Leipzig. Yeah. I've got to admit, but I should.
Yeah, it's incredible. Yeah.
Wow. So your album True View, it came out last October.
Yep.
And now you're touring Europe, and the songs, I believe, must have grown a bit now, where you're just playing them. And I imagine that they aren't the same as they were on the album anymore. Like, you're playing those, and they grow. They naturally grow.
Absolutely.
How does it feel? Are there any favorite songs where you like to say, that's the one I love to play, or is there any song where you're like, I should have done this differently or anything?
I think we were actually it's a good question, and we recently had a big conversation about this because for our next record, we're like, we should play the songs, we should write songs together and then play them for months before we actually record them, because that exact thing happens. And I don't think there's a single song on our new record where there isn't a new thing I would do. So that part's always frustrating, but I think that's going to happen no matter what. You know what I mean? You play the songs over and over and over, and you're absolutely right. Sometimes when you're live, a new little thing comes to my head. I'll change a melody, or I'll scream something differently, and I'm just go, fuck, that's way better. I should have done that. But I think that's just part of the creative process. That's always going to happen.
Totally. And I love like looking at YouTube or something, and there are people like covering those songs, bringing new ideas in.
Absolutely.
And then you kind of see, well, that song was already amazing, and it still is. But it's like the interpretation of people, like what they do with it, and what you do live with it. It's just amazing.
Totally,
it's incredible. Yeah. And so when you're writing a song, how do you know when it's finished? Like, all right, I think this is it, or do you just?
Well, I feel like that's what makes. It's a very complex question, because I feel like any artist, a creative person, or at least ones that I admire, absolutely despise everything that they do. They think that everything that they do sucks and it's the worst thing on the earth, and that they should just fucking dig a hole, crawl into it, and bury themselves alive because they have no right playing music or whatever their art form is.
Yeah,
those are the artists that I generally love, and so. It's difficult. It is very difficult to come to a point and go, okay, this is finished. But I don't think any musician, even if you think that in the front of your brain, there's something in the back of your brain going, it's not finished. It's never going to be finished, no matter how hard you try. Even if you had another 100 years to live, you would never finish it. And so it is that battle, like the angel and the devil on your shoulder. And eventually, and generally that's the producer's job or somebody else's job to go, hey, put the mic down, you're done, the song's finished, just, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I'm grateful to have those people who are like, dude, stop
it already.
Because you get to a point where you have a canvas and you add so much paint, or you add too many colors that it turns to black, and then you got nothing, you know what I mean? So you have to realize that about yourself, where your boundaries are, and when you're comfortable with being like, okay, I'm happy with this.
This is it.
It's torture.
The curse of being an artist,
exactly,
I believe.
I guess so, yeah.
And so, talking about songwriting, is there a topic you ever wanted to write about but somehow couldn't? Or thought that, well, maybe I can do a movie, I can do anything else, but not a song about it?
Not really. For me, generally speaking, hardcore music has always been about social or political issues that are happening in the world, and a lot of those issues are very frustrating or very sad and depressing, and but you want to speak about them so you can start these conversations between different kinds of people who might think differently politically or might come from different backgrounds or whatever that may be. And so the issue that I face when I'm writing a record is putting myself there, to knowing that, okay, I'm going to write a song and I want to write about this. It's almost like I'm willingly putting myself in a miserable headspace so that I can write a record. And that does a lot to me emotionally, because it's like
acting.
Generally, I'm living my life in Los Angeles, and it's sunny and it's beautiful, and I'm with my dog, and I go to the beach and I ride my bike, or I do all the things I like to do. And then, there's no shortage, especially when you're in a hardcore band, of inspiration or material. All you have to do is turn the news on, and you see some fucking idiot somewhere doing something fucking dumb, and you go, oh my God, how are we doing this? And especially if you look at the current United States administration, it's a very frustrating and turmoil. There's a lot of turmoil right now back home, and especially with what they're doing along the border, with all these people trying to flee their countries, and families being separated, and kids being put in cages and all this crazy shit, man. It's insane, And sometimes when I'm home from tour, I don't want to think about that, because I just want to try to find a piece of life where I can smile and be happy and enjoy. But then when it comes time to write a record or do something for Stick to Your Guns, I go, okay, now it's time to get your thoughts out about this. And a lot of the time the thoughts are very dark. I don't want to call them negative thoughts, but dark, I guess. They're frustrated or they're depressing. But there's a layer of, okay, how can we fix this over it? So I guess that's the bright side of it. Yeah,
it's like a reflection of things happening right now.
Absolutely, yeah.
And so how does it feel like to tour Europe right at this time where everything is going crazy there? I mean, the midterms are coming up in a few months, I believe. Right. But now, I mean, how does it feel?
Being able to speak with people who come from different countries and speak different languages and have different cultures and belong to different kinds of ideas and things like that. I'm broadening my intellectual toolbox. I'm able to kind of not just take the United States news word for it. I'm able to go out and see it for myself, and I'm not going to sit here, and I know everyone here can agree that Germany has its own problems.
Sure.
Especially, nationalism is a huge thing that's happening in America right now, and I know it's a huge thing that's happening here and in the UK and really all over the place. Everyone's kind of become these. We got to shut our borders down, and we got to make sure that no, blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
And I know that's a complex situation, so I'm not going to say that people who think that are necessarily wrong. I just think that their information or their education on the matter is shallow. And I think that whether your politics are right or whether your politics are left, with what's happening right now with these refugee crises and things like that, no matter what your politics are, we should all as human beings be able to go, okay, well, this is a messed up situation, so how can we help? What can we do? Instead of people who are just like, oh, it's not our country, not our problem, not our people, doesn't matter, shut it down, can't come in. I know there's issues with just bringing in a ton of people and just saying, all right, now you belong in a completely different society, in a different place of the world that you have no, you know what I mean? I know that there's problems with that. We can't just do that. But I think that there are things that can happen and things that we can do just as human beings of the world, because nationalism, I mean, it's bullshit. It just in the sense of no one decided where they come from. No one did.
Yeah.
You were just born, and then you speak the language of the people who were raising you, and then we're taught, okay, well, that's who you are, so be ready to die for that. Come on. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter what age or what grade or who you are. You have to see that is so transparently poisonous. You know what I mean? When the merit in which we judge one another should be based on the way that we treat each other, or the way that we carry ourselves, or our morality as humans. You know what I mean? And I think that there are certain ways that people of a contemporary and civilized society should behave, and that's with compassion and with understanding. That some people have it a little bit harder than you, and instead of saying mine, this is mine, recognizing that everything that you have, you're borrowing. That's it. At best, you're borrowing it. And so you're not really allowed to tell someone, no, that's mine and you can't have any. Yeah. No, it should be, oh, I have so much and you have so little, you can have some of mine. Yeah. You know what I mean? That's just, it sounds nice. And I know I'm oversimplifying it. I know it's not that easy, but I feel like as long as we can approach a situation from that kind of mindset, that there can be a lot less
violence,
hatred and things like that, you know? So.
Absolutely, yeah.
Whew, I talk too much, I'm so sorry.
No, it's all right, it's perfect.
All right.
I love to listen to you talk like that, but I must believe that playing in certain places in the US, for example, must be kind of hard.
Totally. I mean, it's hard in certain parts of Germany.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? There's people who warn us, are like German fans, like, hey, just so you know, you're playing a small village that's very right-wing, and so be careful. But at the same time, those are the places you want to go, because you can only speak to the people who think the exact same thing as you so many times.
Yeah.
It's going in front of the people who think differently than you and trying to find a common ground with them. That's where I think the work really gets done, you know?
Sure.
And I'm also open. I want to hear your side. I want to know why you think the things that you do, and I want to, you know what I mean? I'm not trying to say like my side is right. You know what I mean? Yeah. I'm not trying to say my way is the only way.
Establishing conversation.
I love to learn. I love to ask questions, and I want to know about you, and I want to know about the things that you believe.
Yeah.
And that's really it.
Yeah. That's so important. Like having empathy, like listening to people, because their problems are also kind of real, and
of course.
Just because they listen to the wrong people or some things they get taught on the internet or television, I mean, we shouldn't neglect that just because we don't like it.
Totally.
So I think that's really important, and doing it by music or with music is so important. Like,
I agree. You
can reach so many people of different areas and spectrums. It's amazing what music can do with you and people.
That's 100% correct.
Yeah.
I mean, I learned more from my music scene than I did from the classroom growing up. You know what I mean? Like, I truly did. And so I'm grateful for that. And I just want to add to that culture of our music, where I can try to maybe open people's perspective a little bit of the world, you know. So
growing up, who were your musical influences in that spectrum, in that political side spectrum, in that like, I don't know, musical influences that really try to make a change, try to address certain topics that people don't really want to talk about?
Totally.
Like,
one of those bands for me was, and they remain to be one of my favorite bands today, is a band from Winnipeg, Canada, Propaganda. And they're a band that I was so young. My brother, he listened to punk growing up, and my older sister as well. She taught me when I was still in diapers. You know, she was teaching me about Black Flag and Sepultura, Metallica, and all these things. And so I loved heavy music and fast music my whole life. And so Propaganda was the first time where I'm like, okay, I'm singing all these words about nationalism or about COINTELPRO or about veganism or about certain genocides and things like that. But I'm a 12-year-old kid. I'm singing them. I know what the words are, but I don't know what the words mean. And the second I was able to grow and kind of, when you open up the Propaganda book, the booklet to read all the lyrics, they have like suggested reading lists of books to read, like, hey, you should check out these books. Or they have documentaries, like, hey, you should check out these documentaries. And so now I'm on my own little quest of like, okay, reading these books and checking out these documentaries and then going back and reading these lyrics and going, holy shit.
That's where this and that came from.
Right, and so that was a band that really poisoned my mind with a lot of these kinds of things that I kind of identify with still today. And then a band called Ignite. They're also from Orange County. The singer's from Hungary, but they're from California. And that was another band that I grew up all the time. I would go to the beach, listen to them, and just do my thing. I also a very political band, but then also hip hop. I grew up with a lot of hip hop. And when you have artists like KRS-One or Public Enemy. Also singing about the perspective of what it's like to be a black person in America. Again, there's education, so much education through music. And I think it's known. You know what I mean? And then you take a band, and then Rage Against the Machine comes out, and then it's fucking done. You know what I mean? That's when I was like, okay, lock me in here. This is where I belong forever. Yeah. But even the FBI, they have the FBI watch lists. They have the Wu-Tang Clan, the Beatles, Rage Against the Machine. All these bands are being watched closely by the FBI because they know how powerful music is, and they know, John. Look at what John Lennon did for the world. Look at what Zach De La Rocha did for the world, and they could straight up single-handedly start revolutions, and they did.
Yeah.
And they did. And so that's why I think, even the U.S. government and probably governments all over the world recognize the power that music has. And so I think they do everything to let it get to a certain point, and then it starts getting to a scary area where they go, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, the Berlin Wall. I mean, we had this until 1990, 89, and right before it fell, there were a lot of concerts going around on the west side, obviously, but a lot of people on the east side were listening to it and were like trying to get a glimpse of it. And so even there, people are saying now that music played a huge role in like changing things. And
I'm not surprised by that at all.
Yeah.
Something so. I mean, that was a huge thing. You know what I mean? And what an amazing thing to be able to experience in your lifetime.
Yeah. It's so great talking to you and hearing all of these thoughts and opinions.
Thank you very much.
And I believe that, the definition of success is something that really interests me. Like, people can say, well, I sold that many records, I played those shows. But to me, success is something like reaching people, talking to people, like getting to a space where you seldomly go as a musician. What does success mean for you? And
if I'm being completely honest, it's both things. You as when you look at Stick to Your Guns as a business or whatever, you want it to grow so that you can continue to tour and you can continue to whatever. It's very convenient for me right now being in Stick to Your Guns because I'm able to pay my rent and pay all my bills and live a happy life and and I don't have to do anything besides Stick to Your Guns, and so I'm very grateful for that. And so I want that to be able to continue. You know,
sure, yeah.
But at the same time, absolutely. I mean, I you know, we don't. We want to reach people, but we're not. That's not necessarily what we're interested in. We're happy if we do. We're happy if someone is intrigued by something that we say or by the way that we sound. But our goal isn't to just try to write these songs that are so broad that they can apply to anybody from anywhere. No,
yeah.
we're very meticulous and deliberate with the words that we say and the music that we write. It's meant for a certain. It's meant for a certain person, and or a certain type of person, and I don't mean that to sound exclusive, but that's kind of what it is. It's not meant for radio. It's not meant for mainstream audiences. And I mean, granted, I'm sure a lot of people here who watched us today are probably those kinds of people, and maybe they were like, "Holy shit! Like, this is crazy," and that's great.
Sure.
But that's never the goal for us. So as you said, the fact that we've turned Stick to Your Guns into what it is incredibly successful for me. You know what I mean? Like I'm always going to get on stage and say what I need to say, or in my songs I'm going to say what I feel. I'm never going to compromise that part. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if people love it, great. We're glad to have you. And if you don't, I don't fucking care. You know what I mean? It's like either way, I don't care. You love us or you hate us, I don't care. Like you, but not in a mean way. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
sure.
I'm glad you do, but I mean, we're still gonna do what we do regardless if you love us or not. You know what I mean? And so that's more what I mean. And so we've been very successful while remaining incredibly true to who we are.
Yeah.
And so to me, that is success.
Oh, that's a great answer. So you're around for 15 years now, which is a long time
Too
for
long.
bands. It's too long. Yeah, let's call it quits. No, 15 years, and you inspired so many people. Like so many of my friends listened to you back in the day, and still
nice.
do.
Yeah, thank you.
Do you see any up and comers, some new bands, now turning up to kind of make the buzz like you used to in the day? Like,
Totally.
Are you seeing
There's so many new bands, like the band Knocked Loose, that's really just absolutely destroying it, especially in the States right now. And I know they're starting to make their pay their dues over here in Europe as well, and start to do the things that just start to really tour a lot over here. Another band is a band from Quebec called Get the Shot. Amazing band, unbelievably amazing. Some of the best energy, and I hate to say that they're a new band. I'm not trying to like diss them because they've been around for a while, but they're now starting to get notoriety, which is great. I was just watching their fest. I saw some people on Instagram, some videos from them at Hellfest, and it was fucking crazy. And so that's amazing. Get the Shot. Sanction, a band called Sanction from Long Island, New York. They're starting to do it as well. Do awesome things. A band called Vane just put out a record, like I think maybe yesterday or 2 days ago. Insane record. It's awesome. Yeah, there's a ton of bands. I'm sure I could sit here all day and go over them, but you know, this music is definitely a very much alive and well, and it's great. And to see the support even getting broader and broader and wider is cool.
Yeah.
A lot of bands are starting to realize, like, you know, they can really focus on just their music and just their creative side. So it's sick.
Yeah, do you even get the chance to see some bands live still, or is it just...
It's difficult, but well, it used to be difficult. I used to live in Montreal. I lived in Montreal for about 7 years, but now I'm back in Los Angeles. In LA, I mean, fuck, there's a show every night. You know what I mean? It's like Berlin or like any of those cities. There's always a show to go to. And so, yeah, I mean, I definitely try to go to as many shows as possible.
Yeah. Jesse, it's been a pleasure talking to you.
Hey, thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, sure. At the Hurricane Festival, stick to your guns.
Yep. Shout out to End Hits Records.
Woo.
Shout out to Swain. Shout out to AYS. And that's it, really, I think.
All right. Thank you.
Of course. Thank you, buddy.
Woo-hoo.